Today we're interviewing Ron Shah, the CEO of Bizly. It's a pleasure to be interviewing you today. My name is Raul Kaworu. I'm a freshman at St. Paul's School and the vice president of CompanyRoots.
My name is Suresh Shasti. I'm a junior at Homedale High School, and I'm the founder of CompanyRoots. Before the interview, we just wanted to thank you for taking your time. The first question that we always ask is, what were your company roots and how do they help you get into Bisley?
My company roots were, I spent 15 years in venture capital. It was my first job out of college. Invest in a lot of cool companies. I got involved with a startup in the travel business in India called MakeMyTrip.com and helped them raise capital early on and build their business. They're now the largest online booking site in India.
Wow.
And learned a lot about the travel business, about the digital online world, and that was the roots that helped me pave the way to building Bisley.
Yeah. So, do you have expertise in like coding? Because I know Bisley is like it has a very big online presence. So, do you have expertise in coding, or were your co-founders the one that helped you get into that area?
Yes, I don't. I'm the sort of business lead at the company. We do have a full technology team. Our first engineer at the company named Tor Miller really helped build the first version of the technology.
And what coding language is Bisley written in?
Our back end is written in PHP Laravel, and our front end is written in React.
Okay.
So when you hire, what qualities do you look for? And as the CEO, you're in charge of management. And what habits do you have that allows you to command your team and keep the people under you disciplined and happy?
Wow, great question. What do I look for? Well, we look for a couple of key things. I would say one is in a startup, you really look for people that share your vision and really believe in the mission. And how do you have to kind of figure that out aside from someone saying they believe in your vision and they're passionate about it. It's really, seeing a track record of making sacrifices, potentially taking on risk and, having real overlap in their life and career with the mission of the company. The second thing we look for is, a great cultural fit. We really built our company on some core values around, thoughtful debate, creative and innovative approaches to solving problems, and having a culture of transparency and trust and honesty. And so we look for people that really fit those values. And then the last thing I look for is someone that frankly is comfortable walking in the dark. And what that means is basically people that, don't always have to follow a very visible, clear path and can kind of figure it out for themselves, which I think is a critical skill set for someone in startup.
So when you're hiring people, how do you get across to getting connected with these people that you're talking to?
Most of the people that have joined the company have come through someone we knew. So it might be one of our investors, it might be someone that we've worked with in the past. The power of the networks and relationships and introductions is key, but that doesn't mean that's the only place. A lot of our employees at Bisley have applied through a job site or, basically reached out to us. Actually, we've had a few people that contacted us through our website and said, I love what you're doing and I'm interested in a career. And we've actually responded and, have had good success with that as well.
Yeah.
So in your opinion, what matters more, academic grades or networking experience in the real world?
That's a good question too. I would say that you really have to have both. I think that I wouldn't say grades necessarily. I think that you do have to have grades to demonstrate that you know how to win in a way, you know how to study and actually perform. I think that's key. So grades are a good indicator of that. But I think what is more important is being able to read between the lines. Okay. So, really having a good sensibility about people and about what the story is between the data, right? So in school, when we take exams and tests, we're really good at, or we get better at learning how to memorize and learning how to do certain skills. But being able to not only just do those skills, but also read between the lines of how can I improve my situation so that the next time I take this test, it's going to be way easier, right? Thoughts like that are what you look for.
Constant improvement. Yeah. So how do you market Bizly, and what is your target group?
We are an enterprise B2B software platform.
Mhm.
So we really market Bisley to Fortune 500 procurement departments.
Yeah.
Procurement is a department that decides on, what products, a company is going to purchase, and how they're going to can save money for the company, and how they can keep the company at the cutting edge. So we sell Bisley into those departments. The way we generally market it today is we've identified a couple of sources of
Mhm.
leads, where all of these industry people, they go to the events, they read those publications, and we've identified 3 or 4 of those publications, and we've focused our marketing budget on those 3 or 4 media channels, and that's where we've gotten the most of our customer leads to date.
Yeah.
So how are you looking to expand Bisley to more areas across the country and the world?
Sure. We have a really kind of a simple mission, and our mission is that every professional in the world needs events to connect person to person, in
Yeah.
person, with people.
Mhm.
But the problem with events is that no one really has clear, easy ways to build, manage, and measure events, right? So we all know intrinsically that we need to do events to be successful. We need to do events to get our team excited, to get our clients excited, and
Mhm.
really keep, to really build those those personal relationships. We know we need events, but we never had the metrics. So we may get a budget to do an event, and after the event, we'll get asked by our boss or supervisor, how did the event go? And it's one of those things where you're just like, it went well. I think it went well. I have some,
Yeah.
it's kind of, I have a hunch that it went well, but very often we don't have the data to demonstrate how well it actually went and what return it actually generated. So that's really our mission, is to give people around the world the tools they need to easily build, manage, and measure events,
Yeah.
and make that a critical component, because we believe that there's so much digital noise between emails and ads and other things that people do in business digitally, that you still need a bridge into the in-person world, and that's the bridge we're trying to build.
Yeah. So Bisley, so like, what is your target size when you're getting these people to coordinate events? Like, how big are the events that you plan?
Sure. Our target market are events of 100 people or less.
100.
Yeah, because what we found is that for the big events, like the 1,000-person annual event,
Yeah.
most companies, have a professional events team that does those events, and they have a way of doing it. But when it comes to all the smaller events, and the smaller events are like the sales client dinner, the
Yeah.
team outing, the brand activation, these kind of smaller events are really widespread, and they're increasing, they're being used more and more, and that companies just don't have a good tool to easily build, book, and manage and measure those events.
Yeah.
So how much of the industry does Bisley control, and how much competition are you facing right now?
Sure. We're a pretty young company, so we started less than 2 years ago.
Mhm.
We're actually celebrating our second birthday in a couple weeks.
Congrats.
So thank you. We still have a small percentage of market share. There's a huge market ahead of us that we're excited to go and capture.
Yeah.
Competitively, what we found is that when it comes to the big events, there's quite a few companies. There's companies like Cvent, and eTouches and others. But when it comes to the category we're focused on, the 100 people or less events, there's actually not a lot of competition. There's a couple of small firms.
Yeah.
But so we think it's a really attractive market, because when you put all of these small events together, it's actually 2/3 of all events are small. So it's a very substantial market opportunity.
Yeah. So what chains of hotels and restaurants does Bisley have as like biggest partners, and how do you actually reach out to these hotels?
Sure. We actually have 15,000 hotels and restaurants
Wow.
across the country.
Impressive.
So we have every major chain and brand. We haven't had a huge challenge on the supply side. We have leveraged something called a global distribution system, a GDS,
Mhm.
to build a master directory of hotels. On the restaurant side, we have partnered with event management software companies that have thousands of restaurants on their platform, and they've partnered with us and put their restaurants. And so collectively, we've been able to really create a nationwide presence across the U.S., soon to be global. And our strategy is to take some of this content that's out there in a directory, but then add some layers of really rich content on top. So the problem in meetings and events is, like, you can't go to TripAdvisor or Google and really find reliably quality information on what the meeting spaces look like, what the meeting menus are. All of this data is not there. There's no aggregation. So we actually have spent a lot of time and effort aggregating all of that content through our content team here at Bisley.
So do you reach out to them and say, can you provide us like a few pictures of how your place looks and what type of food you cook, what your menu's like, that type of stuff?
Yeah, so we have a very seamless onboarding process. We don't charge venues anything to be part of Bizly, so and they get exposure to a lot of our Fortune 500 customers.
Yeah.
So it's been a really they have a high motivation to click the button and create their profile. So it's very much like TripAdvisor. When they started, they had to like basically list everything, and then people can claim their listing and click the button. It's the same thing on Bizly. So we have thousands of venues every month that have claimed their listing, added their own images, and enhanced their page.
Yeah.
So what percent of the users that actually go on your website sign up, and how are you looking to increase that percentage?
Sure. So we don't have it's not a B2C market where we try to have our platform where we hope that users will sign up. We really are an enterprise sales focused company. So we have a sales team. We sell to big accounts. When we sell an account, each account has thousands of users in it, and they require their employees to use Bizly. So we have kind of turned Bizly from a traditional kind of e-commerce site to more of an enterprise software platform.
Yeah. And but you have different stages, like individual, corporate, and enterprise. So are you looking to like take out the individual and corporate a little bit more and like just focus more on enterprise?
Yeah, right now I would say 90% of our focus is on enterprise. We do have corporate. Individual accounts are kind of trial pilot accounts. But yes, our focus as a company is corporate and enterprise.
Yeah.
So in an article on The Entrepreneur, it says 5 lies the world tells entrepreneurs about how to succeed. You talked about the brutal honesty. And as an ex-VC and current CEO, how should teams tackle entrepreneurship with this concept?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a tricky thing. It's not easy to boil it down into a science, but I think my thesis is that we are in a hypersensitive world where you have very good measurements now on data, right? So you don't need long periods of time to measure the effectiveness of a strategy, an idea, a thought. Before we entered this current digital age, you had to wait years to see how things play out to really know whether you should change something. Today, you don't need to wait years. Now you can wait weeks sometimes. I mean, you do have to be patient to give yourself enough of enough data to really make an accurate decision. You don't want to be too hasty, but you do have enough data and measurement ability now to make micro decisions rapidly. And I think that's the key to success today is to, you may have an idea, you may have a big vision, stick to your vision, really believe in your vision, have passion about that vision, but be flexible to which path you'll take to make the vision happen. And that path should be determined by the data you see. So if you're trying a strategy and the data telling you that the strategy is not working, then you should change your strategy, provided that you've given that strategy enough time to really breathe and where you actually have enough time to measure that data.
Yeah. So we always end on the same question. What specific strategies would you give the next generation of entrepreneurs and leaders to succeed in high school?
Great. So high school. I would say that if for people that are in high school and if they think they want to be an entrepreneur, you have to, there's a few things. I think first you have to really, I would focus on 3 things. One is obviously academic achievement. I think for anything you want to do in your career, academic achievement is important, making sure you try to do your best with studying but as you know, many entrepreneurs were not good in school and not good with grades and not good with studying. So, I think that the two things that I think from high school that are really important is writing skills. So, I think the foundation of a person's writing abilities throughout their life is really formed in high school. If you're not a great writer going into college, it's hard to become a great writer from college and after college. So I think writing is a key skill that is developed in high school, as well as some of the core math skills. The younger you are is an advantage to try to learn those hard ways of tackling those kind of writing and mathematic problems. It sets a good foundation. I would say that, at the end of the day, entrepreneurs are great when they can solve problems. So problem solving is the key thing. And a lot of this requires street smarts. It's not something you can learn in school. It's things that you have to kind of figure out using real world resources, like figuring out how you can solve problems with what you have in your hand, or what you have around you. And so problem solving is the second thing I think is key to kind of hone in on. And the third is like, I know I don't know because I'm not in high school, but I could imagine that right now, people in high school are surrounded by, their friends and everyone that are on their screens and their phones all the time. And I think that it's hard because you're not connecting human to human with people and experiencing a full range of emotions, which are so important for success. So I would just, recommend, when you're with friends, try to pull away from the screens and really connect with each other and, be comfortable expressing emotion away from the screen. And I think that would be valuable.
Thank you. Thank you for taking your time again. It was an honor to talk to you. And I learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.